Hello, it is Friday, the 5th of May, and it is the beginning of a bank holiday weekend. Yay! And I don't have too many plans this weekend. I've got some tomorrow, but my Sunday and Monday are pretty free. So I thought I would do a vlog of everything I read this weekend. I'll take you on this journey with me. I'm hoping to maybe read 3 books, so finish the one I'm currently reading and then read 2 more. But we'll see how the weekend goes. Draco is looking pretty ready for a bank holiday weekend as well. So yeah, hope you enjoy. Hello, good morning. It is about 7:45 on Saturday, the 6th of May, so the first official bank holiday day. Now, I have been reading Glory, and I am about 57 pages in, and I'm finding it really hard. I definitely have this complex about prize-winning books and just assuming that I won't be able to understand them, or that they'll be like too deep or too heavy or too dense. So I think that's not helping. However, I do actually have this on Libby, so I'm going to switch to the audiobook for today. I've got a few like cleaning bits to do this morning, so I'm going to listen to it instead and hope that that will help me like press through, because yeah, if you don't know the premise of Glory, honestly I'm not even 100% sure myself, but so far it's a load of animals and they are anthropomorphized to act like humans. So it's basically all of these animals, kind of like Animal Farm. I've never actually read Animal Farm, but I imagine that's what Animal Farm is like. And it feels very political. And yeah, so far there's not really that much plot. It's just a lot of sort of speeches and conversations between characters. And I'm really struggling with like the setting as well, because it kind of feels, and I think this is my own fault, kind of feels, you know, like Noah's Ark, because there's a load of animals, but then they mention things like YouTube and like streaming or like social media, and obviously it's modern. So I'm really struggling to like grasp the concept and really get into it, and so I think I'm going to switch to an audiobook and hopefully that will help me. So this morning I've got about an hour to read before I need to start on doing stuff, and I'm going to start The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, because this is one of the books in my TBR basket and it's not too long and I've heard very good things. I've always wanted to read Toni Morrison, so I figured I would put one of her books in my basket this month. So yeah, gonna read in bed for a little bit and then I'll let you know what I read throughout the rest of the day. The cat had a hairball, so I had to momentarily leave bed, and now I will continue. I have now showered and I need to do some cleaning, so I'm going to continue Glory but on audio, and hopefully I'll have a bit better of a grasp of what is going on. Yeah, so I'll let you know once I've listened to it for a bit whether it's any easier on audio, and yeah, keep you posted. So I've only got about another 20 minutes-ish to read before my friend gets here, and then I probably won't read any more today because we're going out in the evening as well. So I'm about 25% of the way through Glory, and it's definitely easier as an audiobook for obvious reasons, but one thing I'm just really not enjoying is how repetitive the writing is, and it's obviously done intentionally because there's a lot of it. So it will be like a whole paragraph that will just have the same ending every single time. So there'll be these really short sentences and then the ending of the like the last 4 words will be the same, and it will do it over and over and over, and I'm talking like 20-30 times, and I'm not loving that. And like I said, that's definitely the writing style. I feel like maybe it's supposed to be sort of leaning towards poetry, or having like a poetic feel to it, but I just don't like it. That's obviously a personal preference. Don't like it. I feel like that's what's making this book so long, because it constantly does that, and it's just filling up the book, but nothing is actually happening. There's no plot or anything like that. And yeah, generally speaking, there's not much plot. I am getting into it a little bit more. I am understanding it a lot more, and I can see a lot of parallels to real life. It's obviously supposed to be a political commentary on real life, so I'm enjoying parts of that, but I still don't 100% get it. So I don't think I'm going to end up loving it, but I will persevere. I will get to the end, and hopefully I might enjoy it a bit more by the time I get there. Hello, it is now Sunday the 7th of May, and I've been reading this morning for about an hour, mainly The Bluest Eye, so I've made relatively good progress with that. I'm liking it. I'm not loving it yet. I've heard it's quite hard hitting, so I'm expecting it to get either emotional or a bit traumatic, but we'll see. It's only about 200 pages, so I'm hoping to finish that today, and then I'm going to carry on with Glory on audio. Definitely not switching back to the hardback because it was just way too dense for me to understand. So yeah, I'll take you along for my day. So I was actually about to start cleaning the windows, but I went to check on my greenhouse and my tomatoes have got rather big. So I think instead I'm going to repot them into larger pots, because I'm not an expert, but I think once they get to like 2, 3, 4 inches, then they should be potted into their individual pots. So I'll just show you. So these are tomatoes, and those over there are peppers. So yeah, I'm not sure if I have enough pots for all of them, but I'll do as many as I can. And then I think I need to put some like bamboo sticks so that when they start growing up, they can be supported, but that's for later. For now, I'm just going to put them in individual pots so they've got more chance to grow. So yeah, I'll take you with me so you can watch me doing some gardening. Just watch that back, and that shot was terrible. So those are the tomatoes and those are the peppers. So I'm going to leave the peppers as they are for now because they are smaller, but the tomatoes are getting quite big. So yeah, those are the ones I'm going to repot. I've just come in from doing the tomatoes. I definitely didn't have enough soil or pots to do all of them. I've literally only done like half, but better than none. I only need a few of them to survive. But yeah, that went pretty well. Still listening to Glory, still feel the same. So I'm now about halfway through The Bluest Eye, and I am really enjoying it. I don't think I quite feel connected to it like some other sort of quote-unquote classics. It's sort of reminding me of things like The Colour Purple, where it feels like a classic in a way because the writing isn't like a contemporary would be nowadays, i.e. it's just a little bit more, I suppose, like dense. But yeah, I am enjoying the story and definitely gonna finish it today. And then I'm about a third of the way through Glory, which I have the same opinions on. Yeah, so now I'm gonna take some content for the week because it's my birthday on Friday and we're going away. So I wanna have enough content for this week and the weekend so that I can keep posting. have just finished The Bluest Eye, and I have to admit it took me a while to get into, but once I was into it I did really enjoy it. It's really hard to read in places, and it really reminded me of Betty by Tiffany McDaniel. If you've not read Betty, I'd really recommend it, but again, very tricky to read in places, so just look at the trigger warnings. And I think always books that are written from the perspective of children are kind of fascinating, because you're seeing the world through their eyes, and that's in equal measures fascinating and also heartbreaking, especially in books like The Bluest Eye and in Betty as well. But yeah, I did really enjoy it, so I'm so glad I finally read a Toni Morrison book. Hello! So it's about 7 p.m, I've had dinner, and I have about 3 hours left of the Glory audiobook, and I am going to finish it, but I don't want to finish it tonight because I'm not loving it, and I feel like if I listen to it all this evening, it's just going to feel like a bit of a slog. So instead, I'm going to have a scroll through Scribd and see if there are any like really short audiobooks that are maybe like 1 hour or 2 hours, and see if any of them take my fancy, and then listen to one of those while I do some more craft. I've actually found one that my friend has listened to, so I want to give it a go. It was already saved on my Scribd. It's called Orgy, and it's only 55 minutes, and I normally listen to audiobooks on Scribd is a bit annoying because you can only listen to it at certain speeds, so ideally I'd want to be on like 1.4, but you can't. You only, I think it's 1.2 or 1.5, so I normally listen to it on 1.5, so I think it's only going to be like half an hour. So I'm going to listen to that, and then I'll let you know how that is, and then I'll probably listen to another one. To Orgy, and it was pretty good. I've never read any books by that author before. It was Caitlin Greenidge, but I would definitely read more because yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was only like I said, half an hour, just about the life of a woman who lives in New York, who goes to a sex party during the pandemic. So yeah, it was pretty good. Really annoyingly, it's not on Goodreads. So it used to be on Goodreads, and for some reason it's been removed. I think because it's a short story and their like guidelines don't allow short stories to be on there, which is really annoying, because now for the whole year my Goodreads tally is going to be off, which is going to drive me mad. So I'm going to try and find a way around it, but for now it won't be on there. So I'm going to keep going with some like small short reads, and I'm now going to listen to The Book That No One Wanted to Read by Richard Ayoade, which is like a children's middle grade book, literally about a book. I really like Richard Ayoade. I find him hilarious, so when I saw that this was on Libby, so my library app, I thought that I'd save it because yeah, I really like him, so I imagine I'll like the book as well. Again, it's only like an hour long, so yeah, getting through them pretty quickly, but I'll let you know how it goes. Hello, good morning again. It is now Monday, and I've got about 3 hours left of the Glory audiobook, so I am going to finish that today, but not yet because I want to read something physical in bed. So I have picked up Marigold and Rose, which was in my monthly TBR. It's really short, so I'm just going to try and read it in one sitting. I got this from Waterstones. I had not heard anything about it, and all I can remember is that there are twins, and I am a twin, so I'm kind of drawn to books with twins, so I picked it up. So I'll let you know how it is. Okay, I finished Marigold and Rose, and yeah, it was a good read. I enjoyed, because I am a twin, and I'm non-identical twin, and we're very different. I enjoyed that it kind of explored the idea of how different twins can be, but it was a very short book. It was kind of, wasn't poetry, but kind of had like a poetic lilt to it, so I think it's the kind of book you kind of read between the lines rather than getting everything from what's on the page. But yeah, I did enjoy it. So we are going out to run some errands, and I'll probably have about 20 minutes to listen to Glory on audio, so I'll continue with that, and then I'll catch up with you when I get back. Hello, it is about just before 6 o'clock on Monday, and I've now finished all the reading I'm going to do for this weekend, so I thought I would give you an update on what I thought of Glory now that I have finished it and I have come and sat next to Draco to do so. So when I first started reading it, as you know, because I said in this vlog, I really didn't, it took me a while to get into it. I felt it was very dense, it was kind of hard to understand, and it felt very heavy. So I switched to the audio, which definitely helped. So if you are struggling with it, then I would recommend that. The audio narrator is really good, and it does really help like differentiate between the characters and just keep yourself invested, and understand like the arc of the narrative a bit better. So that was a good idea. However, I still am unsure. I mean, I have literally only just finished it, but I am unsure how I feel. I think it's the kind of book where really there are two sides to it. So the first side is that it was a brilliant book. The writer is incredibly talented, and there's so much nuance to the storyline, so many layers. It was so clever and obviously well written, and generally speaking, the political commentary was obviously very well thought through and was trying to say a lot about society. And so I think for that reason I can understand why it is on all of these lists, and why it was on the Women's Prize list as well. And yeah, I can recognise that, especially as someone with an English degree who, when I was at university, really loved analysing books. And, you know, I'm sure this would be the kind of book that I would have enjoyed analysing, because you can really pull it apart. There's so much to it. You could just spend days pulling it apart, looking at it, finding more to talk about. So that's kind of one side to it. However, the other side of it is that I do struggle with books that feel very literary. And this is no criticism to the author or of the book. This is just me speaking as like an everyday reader. And I do think that that book really would struggle like with the masses. And that is not me criticising people and saying that like, you know, everyone's too stupid to understand a book like that. It's not really about that. I think there are certain books that you just have to engage with more in order to really understand them and to really be able to gain the experience that the author intended when they wrote it. And this is definitely one of those books. You really need to critically engage with it in order to understand it, because it's very dense. There's a lot to it. There are so many characters, so much going on within the storyline, and a lot of subtlety that like definitely went over my head for the most part. And I imagine like, yeah, generally speaking, would go over a lot of other people's heads as well. So it's a tricky one, because objectively, it's a brilliant book. And I want to say, yeah, let's go 4 stars, because I can't really give it 5 stars. However, I kind of have to knock it down a little bit just for the fact that it felt like hard work, which I think is fair enough. And I think a lot of like prize-winning books probably do feel like that. And it's sort of a shame that we don't have more prize-winning books that are just enjoyable. And again, I don't mean that as a criticism of Glory or of any prize-winning books, but what I mean is that there's a reason that popular books tend to be, say, like an easygoing romance. And do you know what? This is an exact parallel with the Oscars. You never see like a blockbuster winning Oscars. I mean, they might win like, you know, sound or costume design, but they'll never win Best Picture. And I often speak about this with my partner, because we go to the movies a lot, and we do watch a lot of films. And I always find it really interesting because, you know, those films, those blockbuster films, take, for example, any of the Avengers movies. The people in those films aren't necessarily giving Oscar-worthy performances, and also the storylines aren't necessarily really like layered or clever. I mean, they are, but maybe if you take other films, they're not quite comparable. But it has to be said that, you know, millions of people go and see those films, just like millions of people read books such as, off the top of my head, Book Lovers by Emily Henry. And again, not a criticism of Emily Henry. I'm not saying her books aren't award worthy, but let's be honest, we're not going to see her books on the Women's Prize list. So I just think it's a really interesting conversation. And yeah, this is no shade to anybody, because I think it's brilliant that we have so many different books. And I think it's also great to be able to read literary books and then read something that doesn't feel so literary. So sorry, my phone ran out of storage, which is great, so that probably cut off abruptly. I deleted a few videos and now I'm back. I am going to try and wrap this up quickly because I have no idea how long this clip is going to last. But what was I saying? Yeah, I think it's really interesting. We can read different types of books, but I do think that there should be more of a space for commercially successful books and their ability to win awards. That's a different conversation, but it's something I thought about a lot while reading Glory. Going back to Glory, however, like I said, I can really appreciate what it was doing. I thought it was a really interesting book. There was so much like political commentary, a lot about democracy and dictatorships and like the power of the people as well as political power, and so many like interesting individual stories. I think I did struggle with the fact that the characters were animals. Maybe that's just a personal thing, but it was really hard for me to like picture a goat like tweeting. That was just a very hard thing for me to get my head around, and maybe part of the reason that I didn't love it. But yeah, definitely a really interesting choice, and there are so many animals in it, and I'm sure all of those animals have had a lot of thought put into them about like why they're that animal and what that represents in their character. So I do really love that. Some other like small negatives I hated, and I said this in an earlier clip, I hated the repetition of the writing. It's just a personal preference. I really didn't like it, and I didn't help myself because I listened to it as an audiobook, and just listening to the narrator say the same word over and over and over again, and I mean over again, like sometimes she would say the same word like literally 25 times. I was ready to throw my phone out the window. But that is a personal preference. I just really didn't like it. And also, like, did the book need to be as long as it was? If all of that repetition had been removed, the book probably wouldn't have been as long, and then maybe I would have engaged with it a little bit better. Obviously, again, I'm sure there's been thought put into that repetition, maybe partially to do with the fact they're animals and that is a reflection of like their characters or their nature or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, I really didn't like that. But yeah, definitely interesting. I'm really looking forward to reading some reviews. I'm sure a lot of other people have said some really interesting things about it. So yeah, looking forward to doing that. Sorry, Draco has now decided to have a bath. So yeah, but yeah, very interesting. I will talk about it a little bit more when I do my May wrap up, and obviously at that point I would have read some more reviews, so I might have some more thoughts, because it will have been a couple of weeks and I've been able to kind of sit with my thoughts and see if I have any more about the book. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this vlog, and yeah, I really enjoyed filming it. I think a bank holiday weekend was a perfect time to do it. I've obviously read quite a lot of books, which has been really brilliant. So I'm excited to maybe do some more. We do have one more bank holiday in May, so I could potentially do another one, but we will see. Yeah, and as always, if you've liked this video, please like it and please subscribe to my channel for more, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye! Say bye, Draco. Bye! Bye! Oh, Draco does say